Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Exceptional Relationships. I'm your host, Jason Safford, along with my co host, Ronique Clarke. And today we're talking about intentions. Ronique,
Mm,
what are your intentions with this show?
what my intentions are for the show. All right.
Yeah.
Mine is let us set the intentions out
Okay.
for today's show. The intention is to guide people along their path to figure out what their intentions are and how to see what others' intentions are and to tell the difference between whether or not someone's intentions are good or not so good.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be in a situation where we come across someone crosses our paths and they will say all the right things and make us feel a specific way, and the core intentions behind their words or their actions are inherently not good. So it is very important for us to know what the signs are and to act accordingly when we see those signs. So that is what we are going to be discussing today.
So, if I hear you correctly, intentions are something that basically are the direction of the actions that somebody wants to take.
Yes.
So it's sort of looking down the road in terms of, what is the outcome that you really want out
Mm-hmm.
of a relationship? And those are your intentions to get
Yep.
that particular outcome. So,
Mm-hmm.
what would be good intentions versus bad intentions?
Okay, so good intentions. Again, we have to go to the core of who we are and what we want, and most importantly, what our goals are and what our standards are for for anyone who is coming into our lives or who is interested in coming into our lives. So, for example, if you are the sort of person who, for, for argument's sake, wants to have a family, the intention, the intention in this case is to be in a committed relationship with someone who the intentions are aligned with yours. They want to have a family as well. So we, in that particular situation, we have to look at whether or not the words and the actions are aligned. So if you're gonna be if you're gonna be wanting a family, you're gonna want to have certain things put in place. You want to make sure that your finances are put in place. You want to make sure that you are in a place emotionally and spiritually and physically, most importantly, to handle the the responsibility that comes with bringing another child into the world. So, if you have someone around you and they say that they want a child, but you see that they're not taking care of themselves, they're not taking care of themselves physically, they're not taking care of themselves spiritually, they're not taking care of themselves financially, because we all know babies are expensive. How can you say that this is your intention when the actions are not aligning with what you're saying? So that is one thing that we need to look out for. That where the words match with the actions. Right?
Mhm. So, good intentions would be someone who demonstrates through their actions
what they're
what they
saying.
really are saying to you, so it matches up, and so therefore their intentions don't just appear good, but they actually demonstrate.
Are.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
That is where we can say the intentions are good,
Right.
where actions are matching the words. When the
Okay.
actions don't match the words, then there's a problem.
Right.
And
Then
we
there's bad intentions there. And
hmm
and how do you read into bad intentions? I mean, it sounds like what you just described is not something that's really bad, but they're just not, they don't have themselves together.
yeah.
So, so bad intentions obviously have to have much more of an appearance of good,
hmm
but with a ulterior motive.
hmm That's true. But as I said, you have to have the actions and the words to back it up. Or
Okay.
the words and the action to back it up, vice versa.
Right. So somebody could have good intentions, but their actions don't match their words.
Yes.
So that they do have the intention of being good, but their actions really don't demonstrate it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which it's sort of difficult there because it's like, well, they might have good intentions, but they're not taking action on these good intentions.
That's true.
But bad intentions are somebody that they could do all the right things, but they have an ulterior motive.
Motive, exactly.
Okay.
hmm So
And what would be an ulterior motive that would demonstrate bad intentions?
bad intentions.
Yeah.
Okay. Bad intentions would mean that if somebody says to you that they're going to be around for a long time, and that is what they want to do, they say to you that they want to be around for a long time, they want to be in your life um, in the capacity of legitimate commitment, when they know deep within themselves that that is not what they're after. They're just saying whatever they need to say to you to get what's to reach the particular goal of the moment.
Okay.
And we see that all the time.
Do we? We see that
Oh
all the
yeah.
time? Okay.
At least I do. I don't know about you.
So what would be an example of that in a visual description?
Example?
Yeah.
Plenty of examples. You ever saw those? Have you ever seen the way how teenagers behave
Okay.
when they have their first little when they get when they had their first heartbreak,
Okay.
and the
Their first breakup.
first heartbreak, and they feel as if they need to be cold and emotionless and unfeeling, and a lot of times they don't get over it, and they
Mm-hmm.
feel as if they don't need to they don't need to heal, so the wound is always there, and they feel as if everyone is going to treat them the same way that first heartbreak treated them. So they say, I don't know if I'm ready for this right now, but let's see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what happens. And that usually they'll usually say that to somebody who is looking for something more than just a casual casual encounter, if you will. And what will happen is that, okay, I'm not really ready for this yet, just yet, but let's see how it goes. Let's get to know each other and spend time, and let's see how it goes. As always a rhetoric. No, once they have satisfied their needs for the moment, that let's see how it goes will always change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually very quickly. So after that, they'll say, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship, bye.
Right. Right.
Yep. Younger generation, ruthless. And I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So part of the issue, and if I hear you correctly from the example, is that if you're blocking yourself in a
Mm-hmm.
sense from emotional expression or vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
therefore your intentions can't really be good
Yep.
because you're not looking at anything other than protection of
Yep.
yourself.
Yep. That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So bad intentions are obviously intentions that are self-motivated, um, survivalistic,
Yep.
and
And self-preservation.
self-preservation. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
so how do we identify that in someone?
The signs are always there. I gave you one big sign.
Right, right.
Uncertainty.
Okay.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty is often a sign of bad intentions.
Yes, uncertainty is usually a sign of bad intentions. Because when you are sure of something, you're absolutely sure, you're going to make it known. And there aren't going to be any doubts in your mind, and you are going to be able to speak your truth and say exactly what you want clearly in layman's terms so the other person can listen and understand what exactly it is you're saying. And you would be able to be in a position to give the other person the choice to decide whether or not they will go on this journey with you, right? And everybody has their own path to follow, and everybody has their own lesson to learn in this life. So it is always good for people to make that choice on their own, whether or not they're going to go down that road, whether if it turns out to be a good situation or a bad situation. But regardless, there's always a lesson to be learned. But at the core, you need to make sure that you are giving the other person the choice to make that decision on their own.
So
That's just inheriting bad karma.
so just thinking about it from a standpoint of, whether it's an intimate relationship or a friendship or a business relationship,
Mm-hmm.
how the person conducts themselves should be very evident from the questions you ask.
Yes.
So if you're asking the right questions, you'll get to their intentions. And we
Yes.
started this show by me asking you what your intentions were for this show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that's not often practiced, is it? We don't often go into relationships with a, sort of sense of what are your intentions.
Yes, that's true. And also, no, barely anybody these days are even secure within themselves to even ask the other person, what are your intentions with me?
Right.
What do you want from me?
Right. And
And
could it possibly be that, that maybe we would invite better relationships if we started with ourselves, as you always like to talk about, if you start with yourself first, and you
mhm,
say, here are my intentions.
exactly.
I'd like to know yours.
Ah, exactly. That's it all comes down to the core of what is within us and what we want and what we hope to contribute to the other person. And also that not just, yes, you're thinking about giving, but you're also thinking, what am I inviting into my space? What
Yeah.
am I inviting into my mental space, my emotional space?
Yeah.
So people need to start asking these questions. And yes, they're very tough. Yes, they're very tough. And it might seem awkward, and it might seem a lot of people might seem as if it's a loaded question and everybody is trying to keep it light and airy and whatever the case may be. No, Ask the questions, because at the end of the day, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you get involved with somebody, and at the end of the day, you when things happen, you really didn't know what this person's intention was from the beginning. And usually the signs are always there. So get those questions out of the way, ask the tough questions. And if they're uncomfortable asking answering those questions, you already know within yourself where you stand with them. Because if they're sure, they're gonna answer it.
It brings up a great point, and I want to go back to the idea that, we have to start with ourselves in terms of speaking our intentions to ourselves. And this is, I'm gonna, sort of insert this into this conversation. It's
Yep.
really a totally different conversation, but this is where the idea of manifesting
Yep.
really inserts itself, because
Mm,
if you start with yourself and what are your intentions, this is almost like putting down on a vision board. What is
yep.
it that you want for yourself? And
Hmm.
then discussing it with the other person and asking them about their vision board and what is it that they see. Now,
Uh,
that being said, we both know that as you get closer to a goal,
hmm.
your mind shifts. That
That's
goal
true.
no longer is as important as it once was,
That's
because
true.
once you see that you're going to attain that goal, yeah, as long
Hmm.
as you stay the course, it's there.
Yep.
You start looking ahead to the
Yep.
next
You
goal.
start looking at the next goal,
Right,
and the next one,
right.
and the next goal post,
And
and the
and the difficulty is, do you continue to share your intentions? Do your intentions change as you achieve goals, as your life shifts because of what you're accomplishing both for yourself and with another person?
yep, yep. They'll always change as we grow and as we evolve. The intentions will always change depending on life experiences and circumstances overall. So it is important when you're around someone, whether it be a relationship or a friendship or a business colleague or whatever the case may be, to communicate those intentions over time as they change. So at least you know where you stand, and the other person knows where they stand with you, and vice versa too, because it has to be 50-50. The other person should be able to come to you and let you know what their intentions are and what they want to do. So, and you should be able to be okay with that as well. And if not, then I have to discuss the hard decisions and have those tough conversations about, okay, how do we move forward. But it's
Mm-hmm.
always important to communicate once you see intention starting to change.
So let me ask you, from the standpoint of, a personal relationship with somebody, whether
Yeah.
it's intimate or friendship, but let's use intimate for, this particular case.
Yeah.
When you start out in the beginning of a relationship, your intentions might be very far reaching. In other words,
Yeah.
you may say, hey, look, my intentions are to, find somebody that, meets me where I am, that I can eventually, you know, take trips with and have this wonderful relationship with and eventually start a family with and build, a real
Yeah.
life with.
Hmm.
Those are incredibly far reaching intentions with somebody you
Hmm.
just met. Now, as you go along after 3 months, 6 months, the other person might have seen your original intentions and been like, okay, well, why aren't we getting married yet? Or, why aren't we starting a family yet? But the truth is that as you've gone down the road with this person 3 months, 6 months later,
Yeah.
you might look at them and be like, I don't know if I'm sure this is the right person for my intentions.
Exactly. Hmm.
And you have to have another conversation about, have your intentions changed?
Yeah.
What's working, what's not working?
Hmm.
And that's the more difficult conversation, isn't it?
That's true. Yep.
So so how do we help our listeners to understand, how to have that conversation? Because that's the conversation that I think most people they're gone rather than really face themselves and look at how their own intentions may have changed.
Hmm. There is no way to get around it. You can't be afraid of it. You can't. There's there is no easy way to go through that conversation. You're going to have the butterflies in your stomach. You're going to feel as if you're gonna have nausea. You're gonna feel as if you're gonna throw up, and you're gonna feel as if you feel as if you want to run for the hills once you feel like that conversation is gonna start. But guarantee you, you're going to be you're gonna be so much better at the end of it. So just don't be afraid.
Well,
Don't.
and that brings up sort of what is the goal that you really want to get out of that conversation? If obviously your intentions changed, what are you hoping in having the conversation with the other person is going to happen?
Usually, it is either one or two things. Either at the end of the conversation, you can set new intentions and set new goals and set new objectives and come to an agreement, or you know exactly where the other person stands in terms of where their headspace is, and they know where your headspace is. So, and then you can either make the decision to either prolong or to still go down that journey together until you decide whether or not you are ready to to go down that particular road with that particular person, or you can make the very tough decision to go it alone. Like I said, do not be afraid, because at the end of the day, regardless of however it turns out, it is for your highest good, and it is for you to become a more well-rounded person, and to just ultimately be a better person. Because sometimes you're not going to be that person in your life. Sometimes they're not going to be around forever. Sometimes they're just going to be around for 2 weeks. Sometimes they're going to be around for 2 months. Sometimes they're going to be around for 2 years, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is important to recognize the lessons that that person is in your life to teach you.
And do you think that if the intentions are good, that the ability to overcome the challenges of intentions
Yeah.
changing? So, in other words, you have these long term plans, but as you go into the relationship with the person and you start to see them differently,
Yeah.
and you say, well, I have these intentions, but I don't know if this person matches up with these intentions,
Yeah.
or if they're the right person for me with these intentions.
Yeah.
And if you have the conversation with the person about, look, these are my concerns about, where we are. You're not showing me
Yeah.
that you're in line with my intentions.
Mm-hmm.
What if the other person comes back and says, well, you're not in line with my intentions? And says, I'm not giving you the effort because you're not giving me the effort.
Mm. Then you ask, okay, then what can we do?
Right. So the reality is that getting to the goal
Mm-hmm.
is something where intentions have to be discussed, but then actions have to be discussed.
Ah, mm-hmm. That's true.
So intentions lead to actions, which lead back to changing intentions. So the
Mm-hmm.
discussion isn't just about intentions. It's really about, just like this show, you had the intentions that we were going to be able to talk about this and guide our listeners. And
Yeah.
as we've gone through this show, we've really had to reevaluate, is it just about our intentions, or is it about the actions we take? And
Mm-hmm.
then going back and saying, well, are our intentions really the same? Are we accomplishing the goal so
Yeah,
that, we're really able to achieve something that people get what they want out of it?
that's true. But that is how these things are. They change. They change as we go along.
So if I could throw a curveball to you with the last couple of minutes that we have,
Mm-hmm.
what is the biggest obstruction for people in terms of not being able to get on the same page with intentions?
Honesty.
Okay.
Honesty.
And is it the
Honesty.
honest? And when you say that, it's the honesty with whom?
Honesty with themselves.
Okay.
Because if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest with the other person?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's everything starts with us. Everything starts with what is inside of us.
So leading to that, then, is part of the problem that people are afraid to share their real intentions in the beginning?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes the intentions aren't as good
Or maybe
as.
they're just simple intentions. In other words,
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
if your goal is to have something casual with someone, but you know that they're not, in your mind, you don't think that they're going to be open and receptive to that,
Mm-hmm.
then you create different intentions to
Ah.
mask your real intentions.
And that is I talked about the bad intentions, because you're masking your real intention to suit the situation. And then when you reach that particular you when you reach your real intention, that is when everything falls away.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be honest with yourself and honest with the other person as to what you want and what your intentions are, and let the chips fall where they may. Because the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
And if they say no, that's okay too. There are plenty there. How many people are there in the world, Jason? Eight, eight
Eight
or
billion? Yeah.
8 billion or so, 8 billion or so people in the
Yeah.
world, right? So you have to look at that. And if one person says no, then I guarantee you there are plenty of other people who will say yes to what your true intentions are. So
Right.
you just have to find them. But best policy, just be honest with yourself and honest with the other person about what your intentions are, and
Mm-hmm.
just save yourself the bad karma, please.
All right. This has been a great episode, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and
Mm-hmm.
have a wonderful day.
Love you.